All right, really hate to say it, it's not personal, for heaven's sakes, but I continue to look for Governor Ron DeSantis' economic growth agenda. All right? We haven't heard it yet, and we didn't hear it this morning on the Stu Varney show. Stu's my pal. Didn't hear it, so let's talk about it. We got Monica Crowley, former Assistant Treasury Secretary and host of the Monica Crowley podcast. Took me 2 years to get on it. And Mark Simone, WOR radio show host. We have, I think, some sound, right? Just this morning, DeSantis was asked about the economy on this network by Stu Varney, who's a great pal of ours. Take a listen to what he said.
Forgive me, Governor, for just one last one. Where does the economy stand in your list of priorities?
Oh, it's right up there, day one issue. I think we have an opportunity to reverse Bidenomics. We need to get spending under control. We do need to do the energy initiatives that you and I discussed. We have to nuke things like ESG. We can't have a politicized economy. It just doesn't work. We need to rip up all the bureaucratic excess so we can unleash some of the creative forces in our economy.
All right, Mark Simone, I'll go to you first. I want to get your critique of that. Let me just say, I do think bureaucratic excess could be referring to regulations. But, of course, if you want to roll back all the new regulations, the best thing is to say, I want to roll back all the new regulations. The rest of that answer was a wee bit disappointing to a supply sider like me. How about to a famous radio host like you?
Well, you know, it's a lot easier when you're a governor. If you want to do any of those things, you got to be a hell of a negotiator. You got to be tough. I mean, this guy doesn't even scare Disney. I don't think he's going to scare anybody else. I don't know if he's got the skill to negotiate with Congress. He's not a great campaigner, all that stuff. The problem is he's too young. He's 44. 10 years from now, he'll be ready. You know, everybody talked to Trump about running in the 80s. He was smart enough to know it's not time yet. Wait till I get some real seasoning. The donors will tell you it's time, but they're always wrong. Never listen to them. You know when you're ready.
Well, Kellyanne always says the donors are always wrong. The trouble with the donors is they give money first and then ask the candidate second. Supposed to flip the switch. Monica, you worked in the Treasury Department. You know a lot about economic policy. What do you think of Mr. DeSantis' response to my pal Stu Varney?
You know, I'm really surprised that Governor DeSantis has not put forward a very specific, detailed economic pro-growth agenda to run on. He spends a lot of time talking about the woke agenda, and all of those issues are important. But this election is largely going to be won or lost on kitchen table issues, economic issues, inflation, feeding your family, gas prices, energy, all of those things that affect the average American, are putting the squeeze on the middle class. He is not talking about those issues. He should be specifically talking about, first of all, Florida has a great economic example. He's got a good statewide record to run on. Specifically tax cuts, regulatory relief, as you just said. What would he do about trade? Would he keep the Trump tariffs in place? How would he deal with China and other predatory trading partners, right? And also the energy sector. If you were running for president and you're at that level, and Governor DeSantis is running number 2, very far behind Donald Trump, but he's still number 2, he needs to put out a specific plan that the American people can then discuss. The problem for him is that he is a pro-growth guy. Nobody knows it because he's not talking about it. And also, how do you beat Trump? Trump delivered 4 years of a booming economy on those 4 pillars. If DeSantis comes out and starts talking about it, he's going to look like he's ripping off Trump because there's not a lot of differences in economic policy.
Mark Simone, why is it so hard, politically and economically, A, to mention tax cuts, pro-growth tax cuts, just say it, pro-growth, or even B, extend and build upon the Trump tax cuts. Now, the reason I raise it, when he talks about Trump, he attacks Trump, okay? And I get the two of them are hammering each other. Vivek Ramaswamy, much cleverer, when he talks about issues, he doesn't attack Trump. In fact, he frequently praises Donald Trump. See, I think DeSantis is probably playing his cards all wrong here, because the public, as Monica mentioned, the public associates the Trump tax cuts with prosperity. The public associates the Trump deregulation measures with prosperity, where real wages went up rather than down. Why do you think DeSantis is miscalculated on this?
there's an anger in him sometimes. He can be an angry guy. Some donors have told me that he's not the most pleasant guy to deal with. You look at what he's done with Disney. All you got to do is go sit down and work it out. Instead, he uses anger. He threatens them. And you know Trump as well as anybody. All you got to do is go talk to him. You can work something out. You've been saying this about get an economic plan.
Yes.
You've been saying this for a couple months. The fact that it's 2 months later and he still hasn't done it means he's hopeless.
I'm not running a jihad against Ron DeSantis, who I regard as a conservative and a smart guy. I just think he's had a very bad campaign strategy on the economy. Look, here, let's go back to it. Last one, Monica. So we run this new Wall Street Journal editorial months and months ago. If you live in New York City, your state and local income tax is 14.8%. If you live in Miami, your state and local income tax is zero.
Zero.
Now, DeSantis didn't create that. It had been done by Jeb Bush and other Republican governors, but he's maintained it, and he could be boasting about the growth story in Florida. That's the stuff, that's his context, that's his narrative. With Stu Varney, who's a terrific host and would give him plenty of time, he didn't mention any of that.
It is, and on the Fox Business Network.
I know, it's a business, it's a business
when you're
show.
here, you should be talking about your economic success story in Florida and the plan to take it nationwide. His slogan is, make America Florida, freedom, pro-growth, and all of that.
Right.
Well, okay, then extend it out to specific policies, and in particular on the economy, which is going to win or lose this election for any of the candidates, including Biden or any Democrat. Look, I think to Mark's point, he's listening to the donor class. They're giving him a lot of money, so they have his ear. They all despise Donald Trump, so they're all telling him, attack Trump. I think that's a huge mistake.
I think another mistake he's made is he's listening to his own campaign advisors. Okay, I'm not going to name any names. We know they are. They're doing a terrible job from day one, from the beginning of his announcement. And here, I have no jihad against DeSantis. I want to beat Joe Biden and his socialist policies and his make America worse. Okay, we have to beat him. I just want the best of the best to be best. And it ain't happening for Mr. DeSantis yet. I got to get out. Monica Crowley, Mark Simone. Donors really took it on the chin in this segment, didn't they?
They get it wrong
They
every
deserve
time.
it. They deserve